we disagree on strategy. Okay.
Definitely.
So,
yes.
Okay. Yeah. This whole idea that you're making a difference because Donald Trump is listening to the left. I can't believe you guys think that. That sounds
nobody thinks
totally
that.
detached from reality.
I'll make that case in a minute.
Why is Elon Musk out? Because people burn Tesla cars? I mean, Crystal, you said that in the intro. Are you serious? No, Elon's out because his policies were always deeply unpopular.
No, dude, the Tesla had an impact, Cenk. It was affecting the stock price. It was affecting the members of that Tesla board who were like talking about shit. Maybe we need to replace Elon. God damn, dude, this guy. Dude, all I can say is this. As the world is my witness, I'm goddamn glad this guy wasn't around during the civil rights movement. Seriously, because the black people I know would still be drinking at a special fucking water fountain. Like, dude, what in the hell, bro? What is up, guys? This is the last video in the Cenk Uygur, Kyle, and Crystal debate. A couple of pieces from that debate that didn't fit in the earlier videos kind of had a single through line that I think is going to be important in the 2026 election. So I pulled them all together for this video. This first bit is kind of drilling down into Cenk's fantasy scenario where he thinks a bunch of MAGA gonna turn on Trump because of the war, because of Israel, come rushing over to the left, which we know isn't gonna happen because we know they love war. We know they're liars, but there is some political opportunity here. Let's have a look.
I think MAGA, the one thing that they're gonna start flipping on is war and Israel. And if you said before Trump even got started that Republican voters would start to rebel against Israel, well, a lot of people got mad at me because they thought that was outlandish. And they thought, oh, since that can't possibly be true, I wonder if Cenk is supporting the right wing. So I said the rebellion would start on war in Israel. I believe it has started. You guys think that they're all lying. That's amazing. Okay, no problem.
Based on evidence, yes.
Okay, all right. And you think, okay, actually, before I get to the second question, Kyle, again, now that we're in the real world, like not fake Cenk, but my actual opinions, and we're getting to real disagreements. So do you think that his voters are also lying, or do you think some of his voters are actually anti-war?
Dude, first off, most Republican voters love war. They do. They love war. They fucking love it. Every Republican, they've cheered it on. Dude, Jimmy Carter got hounded out of the presidency because he wanted peace. And then George Bush went to war, and then George Bush II went to war, and then Donald Trump invited war and made sure other wars got activated. And now Trump is starting another war. They goddamn love war until they're running an election and they're like, oh, we don't love war because you're the war people, right? They love crime until they're running for an election. And then they're like, oh shit, dude, we're the anti-crime party. Forget about the fact that we're all rapists and fucking, white collar criminals. It's like, goddamn, bro, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. They love war. And the reality is the people who voted for Donald Trump, they don't care about truth. They don't care about hypocrisy. They just want to hurt trans people, bash the heads of some immigrants, have a Christian fucking police state, right? And hurt anybody who they don't like. That's it. That's all they want.
But you got to tell me what you are saying. Are you saying that none of their voters are anti-war, or a big chunk or a small chunk, and that if we yell at them, they'll become more anti-war? Or if we reach out and say, hey, let's form an anti-war alliance, they'll be more anti-war?
It's crazy because he underestimates how MAGA is never going to be non-MAGA. Like, they will burn their own house down to make sure that you can't get anything from their house. They're extraordinarily self-destructive because they said, oh, the economy. They don't care about the economy. They care about chaos and harming people and causing wreckage and hurting liberals with the police and making sure that the poor people that aren't them suffer and the trans people suffer. And they don't care if they suffer. They don't care if they eat shit the whole time. Yes, vindictive is a great word. Yeah, they're so vindictive that they will literally sink their own goddamn raft to make sure that you don't get a ride to the beach. That is it. It's like, oh, you need a ride to the beach? We're drowning because fuck you, you're not getting to the beach. That's it. Absolutely. Now, I do want to say one thing here, guys. I do think there is a political opportunity here, and I don't necessarily think it is winning over the MAGA voters and getting a coalition. I think the political opportunity is rat fucking the MAGA movement, which is exacerbating their fight. They are going to fight. They are going to be divided. And we can rat fuck them and get them at each other's throats, which will create an angst and an apathy that we then can take advantage of. Like, we have to forget about Kamala. We have to forget about the mistakes of the left. The reality is MAGA are going to be at each other's throats, and we want to inflame that. We want to inflame that so they don't get as passionate. We want them to lose passion for each other, and then we unite and vote like hell, and then we will kick the fucking shit out of them. Because unfortunately, we're going to go through a lot more pain in the next couple of years. Dude, I feel like we've just scratched the surface here. But, dude, look at him. Look at him, dude. Dude, look at this guy. Doesn't he look like somebody just fucking pissed on his birthday cake? Dude. I mean, dude, he's in a room with leftists. They used to they used to all be fighting for the same thing, and now he looks like he's like he's gonna go commit some type of fucking, you know what I mean? Dude, he looks like he's gonna go out and do like, you know, a Vance fucking Bolter or some shit, bro. He just looks lost is a good word, man. He does. He does kind of look like a serial killer, bro. Oh my God, if you know Cenk Uygur, like, please do a mental health check on this guy. Now we get into a little section where Kyle tries to point out to Cenk that the people he supposedly believes in are actually just setting him up, which we all know is true. But the reality is, when we look at it, part of the reason why some of these independents even swung to Trump in the first place was because of people like Cenk. The warmongering fears they laid at the feet of Kamala Harris. Because why? Because she reached to the middle. Huh. That's weird, isn't it?
They are unpopular is not because the left's maximalist approach of yelling fascist at every Trump voter is working. It's because their policies are deeply unpopular.
And who explains that their policies are deeply unpopular? The left and liberals are the ones that highlight how deeply unpopular those policies are. So that's where the credit belongs.
Like I do. So
but that's not like Joe Rogan does, right? Joe Rogan doesn't do that. Charlie Kirk doesn't do that. They don't do that. I just said how unpopular they are. Yeah, but my point is, Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk don't do that, Cenk. They're not allies. Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk don't do that. None of Steve Bannon doesn't do that. Sloppy Steve goes and gives Trump a hand job every day. That's the point, is that they're not allies. And by the way, even on the Iran war thing, they're lying. They are lying. We literally have the quotes right here. Charlie Kirk is already backpedaling. Quote, "We must trust Trump in this situation." Steve Bannon, "If Trump ultimately decides to bomb Iran's nuclear sites, MAGA would come around." That's not me speaking. That's Steve Bannon. "The vast majority of the MAGA movement will go, look, we trust your judgment. We don't like it. In fact, we may hate it, but we'll get on board." Tucker Carlson called Trump and apologized, and he also said on his podcast with Steve Bannon, quote, "I like Israel. I don't talk about Gaza because my audience got mad at me." He said, quote, "Watching Donald Trump, who at his core is sincere about peace, I feel for President Trump, and he just has to roll with it." That is not true. What he's saying is not true. These are not allies. They will immediately start moving the goalposts as soon as Trump starts bombing Iran.
Immediately.
You're going to get this. You're going to get, oh, he's getting bad advice from the neocons around him. It's not a big deal. It's a limited attack. It's defensive. It's not offensive. This isn't like Iraq. There are no boots on the ground. The only people who are sincere that I will grant you, Cenk, is libertarians. So Thomas Massey and Dave Smith, because libertarians have a track record like Ron Paul did of being very principled, but everybody in MAGA, or 99% of them, will bend the knee, just like 99% of the ones in Congress have already bent the knee. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's saying things that are against the war, she's ultimately not signing onto the bill to block the war.
Okay, so here we go again. So again, 90-10, guys. The framing of that question makes it sound like I think Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson have good intent, and my God, they're ready to rebel on everything against Donald Trump.
I said Iran.
No.
I said Iran.
And I just answer a question.
But I didn't say that. I said Iran.
He said Iran. He didn't say everything. Like Cenk is moving the goalposts pretty severely, dude. He's running back and forth over here. Jesus.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. So I think that obviously 90% of the influencers, the hosts, etc., are going to stick with Trump 100%, right? Well, I wouldn't even say 90%. I'd say 75% or so. Are they going to kiss his ass on everything? Well, of course they are. They're on the right, and their whole ecosystem is based on kissing politicians and leaders' asses. Now, let's be honest, not us and not you guys, but MSNBC and now a lot of online hosts on the left, their job is to kiss Democratic ass, and they say, oh, yeah, Joe Biden was young and dynamic, etc. So, yes, we have the partisans.
Dude, he went back to the Joe Biden is young and dynamic. Dude, what the fuck is he talking about? There is nobody in the Democratic Party that has said Joe Biden was young and dynamic. Nobody. Nobody's ever said that. Nobody even said that in 2020, bro. He had to slide that in there, bro. Jesus.
And they are, by definition, always going to stick with one side is great, the other side is the devil. Okay, so now when you get to the 25% of hosts, because now the reason I moved it from 10 to 25, because you're including Rogan, etc. So is Rogan the same as Steve Bannon? If you think he is, that's just totally wrong. Now, do they agree on a lot of things? Yes. Do they agree on everything? No. Does Steve Bannon right about most things? No, he's horribly, horribly wrong about most things. So will they, when Trump says heal, will they heal? In the beginning, yes, and that's exactly what you're seeing. But the reason they're having to heal is because they started rebelling in the first place. And Trump got mad, and everybody else got mad. And even today, you just go on any website. So Bannon is saying, don't go to war, it's terrible. Is he then saying, oh, Donald Trump? Of course he is, because he's on that side. And did we see a lot of left-leaning hosts go, oh, well, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are corporate guys and they're bad, but we have to go with them anyway? Yes, we did. But look, you have to be honest about what's actually happening. So if you guys are saying, and I'm not trying to strawman you guys like you did, in my opinion, in the framing of every question. So I'm asking you, are you really, you're saying it's all fake, and you think that all these right-wing hosts are not actually anti-war, that this is, but they've been telling their audience now for months that the war is a terrible, let me ask the question, and that the war is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea, but, and how would that strategy work? So they get their audience totally against the war, then they capitulate to Trump.
Let me tell you how that strategy works.
How did that help them be pro-war?
Let me explain. Let me explain how that strategy works.
My answer to your question is yes, by the way. In 99% of cases, they are just lying, and they'll go and suck Trump off again.
So let me...
That's a real disagreement.
They're already backing off, and the war didn't even start yet. We didn't even bomb the nuclear sites yet. They're already backing off.
How this strategy works, okay? They postured as anti-war because they thought it was a good electoral strategy. So now they have some track record laid of claiming that Trump is the pro-peace candidate, blah, blah, blah.
And why was it a good strategy? Because their voters are anti-war.
No, I mean, dude, see, now he's pissing me off, because the reality is Trump chose the worthy anti-war party, not because his fucking voters are anti-war, but because there were a lot of people portraying Kamala Harris as the warmonger. Once Kamala came into it, first it was like holding Biden responsible for Ukraine and Gaza and all this. And then when Kamala Harris was in there and she tried to woo some of the Republicans in the middle, like the never Trumpers, everybody like Cenk jumped on there and was like, Kamala Harris is hanging out with the neocons. Oh, Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, she's the war person. She's going to take us to war. And Trump was like, oh, shit, there's our angle. We're the peace guys. We're going to go to war if Kamala gets in there. Dude, Cenk helped sell that shit, bro. Goddamn, dude, he sold Kamala Harris as a war person the whole time. Dude, MAGA literally lived for war. Why do you think they like the fucking goddamn mass deportations? It's war on the streets. Dude, they fucking like froth for it. They'd be the first motherfuckers going to a public lynching. Dude, goddamn, bro. He is like fucking clownery at this point. Jesus.
Postured as anti-war because they thought it was a good electoral strategy. So now they have some track record laid of claiming that Trump is the pro-peace candidate, blah, blah, blah.
And why was it a good strategy?
And
because their voters are anti-war.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, the polling is wildly at odds with you, Cenk, on that. We can come back to that in a second. But
they're not anti-war.
This is the pro-peace ticket, whatever. And I think there were a lot of independents actually who were swayed by that anti-war message, which was completely at odds with reality and with Trump's first term. I think we all agree with that. Okay, so I think there were independent voters who were swayed by that.
See, what's crazy is anybody who believed that Trump was actually anti-war. Right? Like, dude, J6, guys, like, come on, man. There's nothing about him that's anti-war, anti-conflict. I don't think it's just neocons. I don't think there are some neocons that are like, hey, Trumpy, let's go to war. I think Trump fucking wants war, motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Dude, Trump wants war. He wants war on the streets. He wants war against trans people. He wants war against his enemies. He wants war in Iran. If Trump right now could take AOC and Thomas Massey and Rand Paul and a bunch of like journalists and line them up and shoot them publicly, if he could do that, he would, man. This guy is a retribution-based, like the world's ultimate hater. Dude, he loves this shit.
Charlie Kirk and others now, to maintain some credibility, they have to postulate, oh, you know, Trump is getting pulled into this and the neocons are tricking him and confusing him, etc.
It's never his fault.
But we already know how this plays out because it's already played out. Trump called Tucker kooky and said he needs to get a TV network, basically saying he's a has-been. Tucker called him to apologize. That was the message, not just to Tucker, but to everybody else. Time to bend the knee, time to get on board. And they did. They did.
Yeah.
So we don't have to guess. It's already happened. It's already played out.
Right,
they've already bent the knee.
And lastly, is this part here where Kyle brings up Joe Rogan. Now, Rogan is a big sore spot. Everybody saw him as hugely consequential to the shifting right of men in this election. But the reality is everybody knows that Rogan and that whole set, including Logan and Jake Paul, they're all grifters. They're simply riding the vibes. They're simply riding that Dana White money and that MAGA cult money, and it becomes real apparent. The final end goal of this is Cenk wanting to hit that cash register.
I can explain this to you in a way where you will agree with me. I promise you I can explain it to you in a way where you will agree with me.
So,
Joe Rogan, I did this with Joe Rogan.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm just saying, Rogan, if you think you can't convince him on this war, we disagree. Go ahead.
No. Here's my point. I'm happy you brought up Joe Rogan because I literally did this with Joe Rogan.
He was
I was on his show 5 or 6 times. I would make left-wing arguments. He would nod along in agreement and tell me I was right about all of it. Then, a short time later, he has Trump on his show, gives him a fucking hot stone massage and a hand job, and then endorses him and goes to his inauguration. And now when he does disagree with Trump, it is so fucking tepid, and then he goes right back to sucking him off on the next podcast.
Why? There you go.
So my issue with somebody like Joe Rogan is it was already explained to him, Cenk. Trump is not for free speech. Okay. I know that Rogan thinks this guy believes in free speech, but here's a guy who sued Ann Selzer for a poll he didn't like. He sued CBS for how it edited a Kamala interview. He sued Simon & Schuster for a Bob Woodward book because it quoted him and he didn't like the quote. He threatened to de-license news outlets that criticized him. He wants to punish flag burning with a year in jail. He sued CNN for $475 million for calling election denialism the big lie. He sued Bill Maher for $5 million over a joke. He supports opening up the libel laws to sue journalists. He's arresting pro-Palestine protesters. A lot of these things I just listed were in the first term. And Rogan pretended I care so much about free speech and endorsed the most anti-free speech president in modern American history. So he is a fraud. He is a liar. And even now if he goes, I'm not sure about this war with Iran thing, bro, within 3 or 4 episodes, he'll be on to shitting on the left, shitting on liberals, saying they're crazy and wokeness is crazy and the censorship from the left is out of control, because these are not serious people. These are people who ride the vibes and ride the waves in the country, and there was a pro-Trump wave. What I'm saying is, let's shift those vibes. Let's shift those waves. Let's shitpost our way and make it so that being left is edgy and cool and fun again, and that requires being a little belligerent, being a little unhinged, having fun with it. That's where I stand on it.
Okay, so Kyle, the laundry list of anti-Trump things that you just read, literally every single one of them we talked about on the Young Turks. And
I'm talking about Rogan.
Yeah,
it's about Rogan, not you. I know you know those things.
No, but the audience doesn't know that because you just listed that as if I don't know that.
Dude, be a little more punk. Let's go. Dude, Kyle, bro. Dude, I'm ready to be punk with you. I am a fucking shit poster. I am brash. I will call them fascists. I will take MAGA to task. Dude, let's build a coalition, dude. Fuck this dumpy fucking TYT motherfucker sniffing the ass crack of fucking, all these right-wing motherfuckers. Dude, I will fucking spit in Charlie Kirk's face, bro, and feel good about it. All right? I'm serious. Dude, let's fucking go. What is up, guys? Thank you so much for watching. You like the video, you want to support independent resistance media, you know what to do. Drop that sub, hit the like button, and please share it. And we do love our members, so if you want to become a member, it's another really great way to support. Thanks again for everything, guys. I'll see you next time. Let's go.